Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scarish Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And this week we're going to talk to you guys about some interesting topics, like every other week.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, I'm pretty excited about mine. I've been dancing around it for a long time, so I'm going to be covering Bigfoot this week. Robin, what are you going to be covering?
I am going to be covering crop circles.
Right on. And what's interesting about these topics is that a lot of folks claim to have some form of experience with Bigfoot or crop circles. And if you're one of those folks, we would definitely like to hear from you. And you can reach out to us with those stories or other homegrown horrors, as we like to call them. Robin, what other stuff can they send us if it's a homegrown horror?
So you can send us your paranormal experiences, supernatural things, spiritual things, some night terrors, some hilariously coincidental things that freaked you out, ghost stuff, things like that.
Right on. And of course, Bigfoot or crop circle experiences like we're about to talk about. And if you have a story about that, please reach out to us at our email, storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to our website, scarish.com, and click on Contact Us. Fill out that form and it comes directly to us, or you can message us on any of our social medias. Facebook is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod, and Instagram is @scarishpodcast. We hope to hear from you, and we will read those emails on the Storytime episodes, which come out every Friday. We actually record those live 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Wednesday at youtube.com/scarish or twitch.tv/scarish podcast. So please stop in and join us for the live recording. It's usually a really fun time, and you can hang out with us and maybe win some free merch by the end, because we do a little fun thing for giveaways. We have this game that we play, and you can join in for free and hopefully win something. But yeah, those are the plugs. So let's go ahead and jump in. I know that we have a lot to cover this week.
So I know one of our favorite topics that we seem to cover every once in a while is aliens. I mean, they kind of freak me out, but I know you kind of like them.
I kind of like them. I think they're the scariest thing that I cover if they are real, and I just like to say, like, aliens, and, like, do the hand gesture like the guy from Ancient Aliens.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's why they're so much fun to cover.
All right. Well, the other day, I was driving around in my car, like, probably to work or something, but I realized, how have we not covered crop circles? We've talked about different alien things that have happened and never covered crop circles.
It's kind of crazy that it's gone 90 episodes and we haven't touched on Bigfoot or crop circles.
Right.
But we're taking care of that this week, so.
Yeah, so this episode, I'm going to introduce you to the world of crop circles. Side note, did you know that an advocate for paranormal explanation of crop circles is called a cerealogist?
A cerealogist?
Yeah, and they don't research breakfast cereal.
I was going to say, I thought I was a cerealogist because I'm a big fan of, like, Golden Grahams and
You're
Captain
just a
Crunch.
big, Captain Crunch constantly.
It's so
There's
constantly, whatever,
That's
dude.
like your favorite cereal.
Just because it's my favorite right now doesn't mean it's constant. If it was constant, I'd be a lot heavier than I am right now. I have, like, a bowl, like, every other day.
And there's that meme going around where it's like a really messed up looking thing, and it's like your mouth after your second or third bowl of Captain Crunch or something.
Yeah, the roof of my mouth going into my third bowl of Captain Crunch, because it's not one of those cereals that gets soggy very fast.
It doesn't?
Which is another reason I like it. They're very, very crunchy.
Reese's cereal is good.
I've never had Reese's cereal,
Oh my god,
actually.
it's peanut butter and chocolate cereal. It's
Who's
so
the
good.
cerealogist now?
I love cereal. Anyway, so first off, a crop circle. What is it? Well, it's not necessarily a circle. I'm sure you folks have seen a lot of pictures of these quote-unquote crop circles, and they're really not just circles. They're intricate designs. They're these patterns that are created in crops. I'm sure a lot of you are like, they're hoaxes, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And you, my spooky friend, would totally be justified in thinking so, because they are. I mean, most of them really are hoaxes, and it's just people making them themselves.
I mean, growing up in the Midwest and growing up around a bunch of fields, whether it was cornfields or bean or whatever the hell was being grown at the time, I can tell you a lot of folks were all about getting a board with some ropes attached to it and going out and, like, faking a crop circle. A lot of times, too, people were just about making, like, a flattened area to go hang out in and having, parties.
How do you make it without breaking it? How do you just bend it?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've never actually done it. I've done a lot of things in my life, but I've never hoaxed a crop circle before.
All right.
I've cut down corn with a sword before, but that's very not much the same thing.
Did you eat it after?
No, that was really more about being a sweet-ass ninja with a sword that I bought, and there was
More like a samurai?
a cornfield behind me. That's true. And I just was like, okay, these two things go together really well. But yeah, I never made a crop circle. So.
Nice. All right. Well, the idea of crop circles really started gaining traction in the late 1970s because of a couple jokesters that probably weren't anywhere near you because it was in England, by the names of Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley.
Oh,
And
yeah, I totally know them.
oh yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What's up, Doug?
What's up, Doug?
Doug.
They claim to be the ones that started the whole phenomenon when in 1978 they took a plank of wood, some rope, and a baseball cap that had a loop of wire in it to help them walk in a straight line. And their story begins with accounts of crop circles from Australia in 1966. And the Bauer and Chorley just wanted to tease the local believers that aliens had done this. So they were just like, it was aliens, and just was trolling these people. And they claim to have made all the circles prior to 1987, and then more than 200 of them between the years of 1978 and 1991. So apparently between those years, there were 1,000 other circles that were made in that period. And
So they had a full-time job of trolling the locals who believed in extraterrestrial life.
yeah, they were just like, we're doing this for fun.
That is so much work.
They even performed a demonstration of what they did to make a crop circle, right? So they did this, they made a crop circle, and then they had a cereologist named Pat Delgado come.
Named Count Chocula.
So this guy came to examine the circle, and Delgado declared it to be an authentic crop circle, like an alien, supernatural crop circle, before they came out and revealed, like, it's a hoax, we made this. And so Bauer and Chorley had their method down. They knew what they were going to do. They knew how to do it, and people believed what they did. And their additions of straight lines and squares to their design, so it wasn't just like circles or anything, were to point out that it couldn't have happened naturally because it's a straight line. There's no way nature could do this in a straight line. It'd be circles or messy areas, not straight, nice squares and stuff. So you could say it's all a hoax and it's all just fake, but if you want to believe, you can believe. Do you
Oh, that was
believe?
really quick. Good stuff.
Yeah, the topic's over. So we're going to get into the staples that hold the idea of crop circles together. Get it?
Staples, holding stuff together.
Crops.
I'm a paperclip kind of person,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I appreciate the pun.
I meant like crops, staple. Countries have staple foods,
okay.
like rice or wheat is a staple
I went somewhere else
food.
with that, but it's okay.
I went deep dive there, like super deep. Anyway, so crop circles really do lead to farmers expressing their concern about losing veggies and, well, not veggies. I don't know if they do it in vegetables. Maybe they do it in corn. Is corn a vegetable? Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not really fun to joke about that stuff. But
just imagine someone was making a crop circle in your bank account, and that's essentially what's happening here. Because it's like every time you do a crop circle, that's less of a product that a farmer can sell,
right,
that they've paid for and grown. So they're just like looking at it. They're like, I don't give a shit about aliens. I care about my crops being destroyed.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there was a guy who got a crop circle in his area somehow, and he's like, I don't know how it got here. And the scientist came in. She's just like, just charge people like £3 to come and see it. And he had over 20,000 people come and see it. So they kept giving him money.
So that's like, hang on, £1 million.
It's a lot of money. But they came in, and every time people would come in, they'd steal some of the wheat or whatever. Eventually, all the wheat was gone. And it was not even a crop circle anymore. It was just an earth circle because there's just dirt. So then people started coming in and taking the dirt from the area. Like, this guy made a lot of money, but...
It's a testament to how shitty people can actually be.
They paid money. They just took some wheat.
And dirt.
And dirt.
They took the earth with them. That messed up.
Many people claim that crop circles have been reported for centuries, but I kind of find it hard to believe considering back then you'd probably be branded a witch or like a sorceress of some sort if you knew this is aliens or something. Well, did they know the word aliens back then? Who knows? I don't know. But that's something that you probably didn't want to tell people you thought back then. Like, it was mystical, and that's what created this circle.
I wonder if it's just one of those things that used to happen that people used to attribute to something else. You know, like you'd hear about like crops going bad or crops going missing or something like that. And they would just say like, oh yeah, this happened. Maybe they didn't even realize it was happening in concentric patterns or anything like that.
Yeah. Well,
or
they didn't have
just,
planes and stuff to look over.
Yeah, I was going to say like not having an aerial view probably, you know, made you not realize if something like this were to take place. But then again, like we don't even know if something like this did take place. So
yeah. So there is a 1678 news pamphlet that came out, and those that believe in the extraterrestrial origins of crop circles claim to be the first depiction of a crop circle. And in this depiction, it's of a quote-unquote mowing devil or Satan himself in it. And it's just it looks like a drawing of Satan or the devil or whatever. It's this thing with horns, okay? And it's shown holding a scythe as it cuts in like an oval design, and it's going from the outside of the design into the center. So it's kind of like
something creating what we would think to be a
crop circle, but it's using a scythe to cut the grass. So it's a little bit different.
That was the old way to do it. I don't know if you know that. Yeah, before ropes and boards, it was scythes. So
have you seen the video of that girl like going through the grass and cutting it with the scythe? It is so cool to watch.
I don't know what video you're talking about. No.
It is insane how strong you have to be to whip the thing across and cut all the grass. It's so cool. Anyway, so a researcher by the name of Jim Schnabel doesn't think that this is a depiction of crop circles at all because it describes the stalks being cut with the scythe instead of being bent. And I can totally see that. Like, it's totally different.
It's like a different tool for your deception is going to yield different results. So
right. But it just depends. Like, is this a crop circle, or is it just something like a legend like that legend you covered where this thing goes out into the forest and it's cutting people's legs off or something like that? Yeah. You know what I mean? Anyway, so in 1686, a guy named Robert Plot reported on rings/arcs of mushrooms in a publication called The Natural History of Staffordshire. And his reasoning for the phenomenon was airflows from the sky. So air came down in a certain way that made these things grow in a circle. And so you could kind of get from that, like, think air pressure from a flying object. Like, I don't know, a UFO could come down and make a circle. But you never know.
Or like something that's a natural style downdraft could happen that causes things to bend in a specific way, like away from like a center.
But when I think of that stuff, I think of the trees all bending outwards too.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, imagine if it happened on a smaller scale and it happened to crops instead of a forest.
Yeah.
You know, if it's going to knock over trees in a pattern like that, it would definitely do it to, I don't know, stalks of corn also.
Yeah.
But it just depends. Like if it was centralized, it would have to be like way smaller than it is when it comes to like a downdraft or a microburst happening within a forest or something like that.
Yeah.
So
what this guy reported with the mushrooms, I think, and a lot of people think, that is probably what attributed to the concept of fairy circles, because this happened all the way in 1600s. So it's not abducting children or anything, these fairy circles. It's not weird. I don't know. Maybe it is aliens. Maybe it is aliens, and that's why they're taking our children and replacing them. What?
I mean, we could literally say at the beginning of every topic, instead of me saying this could all be bullshit, just say this could be aliens. Because if it's aliens and you're just like, it's a higher life form, we can't explain this, therefore we can blame it on something we don't understand.
Fairy circles are aliens.
At the beginning of my topic, I'm going to be like, this could all be aliens from now on. So.
Okay, so in 1880, there was a letter that was sent to the editor of a British scientific journal called Nature. Very nice journal name.
Pretty straightforward. You know what you're going to get.
The letter was from John Rand Capron, describes how a recent storm had created several circles of flattened crops in a field. Now this one, as tornadoes travel in a spinning circle, I kind of believe, like, there was a storm, there was a tornado, it kind of spun everything, but at the same time, wouldn't it destroy everything too? It would just rip it out of the ground if it was a storm that just did that. And like you were saying with the microburst stuff, wouldn't it just smash everything?
Yeah, in that case, it would start at a spot and like which would be your center, and everything would be bending out away from it.
Right. So I think it's really interesting that it's
You know, another thing it could be, another like extraterrestrial object. It could be like meteorites that like enter into the Earth's atmosphere and explode before impact, like above the Earth's surface, because like that's happened before. Like I'm pretty sure the Tunguska blast, which is one of like the most famous things, where it's basically like an entire area went and got destroyed like an atomic bomb, but it was like the Russian wilderness, so no one was hurt. That's what the Tunguska blast was. I think I'm saying it correctly. And essentially what happened was like a meteor came into Earth, and before it struck, like all the gases like combusted and it exploded like with the force of a bunch of nuclear bombs in the middle of nowhere in Russia. And all they knew is that a bunch of people that like were gonna travel through that area were just like, oh look, like the land has been flattened for miles upon miles, and they were just blown away and no one knew what happened. So if it was smaller, if it wasn't on a giant scale where it was a huge meteorite and it was just like a smaller meteorite, like a shooting star before it landed, and it was just like pop, like maybe that could do it too. I don't know, I'm just theorizing based off of stuff on a larger scale.
Concentric circles though, would that do it? Like makes it twist around in a circle?
Well, I don't know if it like twisted, but I mean if it was all just laid flat out from a central focal point, then maybe that would do it, like different parts of like the meteorite were falling off. I don't know. I'm just trying to theorize that it's not a bunch of jagoffs out in a field cutting down crops or bending them over.
Yeah, I'm just, because a big thing with crop circles is that it's bent over in a pattern, like in a circle. So it's going around and around and around, either towards the center or from the center out or something like that. It's probably the other way. It's probably outwards to the center. But yeah, they bend it. So it's not broken. It's not smashed from like the center out. It's just like bent, and it's like bent on top. Like, have you seen Signs?
Yes, I have seen
And
Signs.
that scene where they're walking in the crop circle.
And they realize it's all bent perfectly.
Yeah,
at the
and it's like
exact same
folded
angle.
over each other. And I think that's a big part of it, that they're like, how does this happen? That it's bent over and folded over each other like that.
Signs is not a bad M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie. He has some stinkers out there. Signs
Swing
not
away.
as bad as I was told it was going to be. I was just pleased that there were actually aliens. Because every time I go see an M. Night Shyamalan movie since The Village, I'm like, the twist is going to be that there is no devil or that there are no aliens. It's like, it's just the people all along.
But there were aliens.
But I was so pleased that there were actually
The scene where
aliens.
they stick the knife under the door to see the reflection of the, oh my gosh, that part gives me anxiety.
The part that made me literally jump in Signs was when they were like showing the video of
and
like
then
one
one
of the
walks
creatures.
across the window or something?
No, it's like they're showing like a pathway between a building and a row of corn, and like the music, the score in the background's building, and then it just steps out like between like the row of corn and then like behind the house, so you actually see this thing move, and you're like, oh shit, like that just happened. Like I think that's the first time it actually was shown. I was like, maybe this is like group psychosis, and that's going to be the Shyamalan twist at the end. I was just like so ready to be disappointed. I was like, oh no, there's actually aliens. Cool.
Yeah, there's actually aliens that are weak to water for some reason.
You're going to a planet that's like 90% water,
right.
And you're weak to water.
Even
it's
the
like,
people, though, the people are 70% water. What
like,
do you expect to
in
happen?
In the immortal words of one of my friends' dads, bonehead move, guys. Bonehead move.
It just reminds me of not World War Z.
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, where they come in and Earth is just so filled with bacteria, they're murdering the aliens.
Have you ever heard the story about War of the Worlds when it was read by H.G. Wells over the radio?
No.
You never heard that? It's fascinating. Like, I'll have to tell you about it in detail, but basically, H.G. Wells was a dude who would read stuff on the radio, and he was known to be like a pitchman or like a news anchor. And so when people tuned in to what they thought was going to be like a normal program, they were hearing what was actually H.G. Wells reading War of the Worlds. To them, it was a news bulletin.
No way!
And there were a lot of people around the country when they tuned in, they were like, we're being fucking invaded by Martians right now. And people like grabbed their guns, like went to their bomb shelters and shit back in the day.
Oh my gosh!
It's an awesome story where people thought like Martians were actually invading the world.
That's amazing.
So I'll get more details on it, because I know like it kind of got blown out of proportion in the media, where it's like not as many people were fooled by it as they thought. But some folks definitely tuned in way back in the day just to hear a reading of War of the Worlds and were like, the world is fucking ending.
I'd be scared if you didn't have any reports from anything and then you just turned on the radio and that's what you heard. I'd freak out.
If you just turned on the radio in general not knowing, it was like super fun fictional hour.
Yeah.
If you guys knew me as a news anchor and you turned on your podcast and didn't realize Scarish was a paranormal podcast and heard me talking about Bigfoot, You'd be like, holy shit, Bigfoot's real. You know, that's
Yeah.
just kind of the way it goes. But yeah, anyways.
All right, continuing on into the 1900s, in 1932, an archaeologist by the name of E.C. Kerwin observed 4 dark rings in a field at Stoughton Down near Chichester, but could only examine one of them. And his report was that a circle, quote, a circle in which the barley was lodged or beaten down, while the interior was very slightly mounded up, end quote. So it was like everything was smushed, but at the middle of it, there was a mound, which is strange.
Sounds like they started from the outside.
And went in.
So that,
everything's piling up in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm picturing.
In 1963, an amateur astronomer named Patrick Moore described a crater in a potato field. I wonder what a potato field looks like. I've never seen one. But there was a crater in a potato field in Wiltshire, and he theorized that it was an unknown meteoric body, like what you were saying. And in nearby wheat fields, there were a number of circular and elliptical areas where the wheat had been flattened.
I think it's funny because when stuff like this happens, people that are rational and skeptical go to how could this have occurred, and they usually skip over the possibility of people are assholes. That's how.
Aliens. There was even evidence of spiral flattening, and I guess that's kind of indicative of what you'd think that crop circles would look like today. And Moore also believed it to be air currents. So this guy saw this stuff and was like, these spiral flattening things, it's an air current that's blowing around and made it flatten that way. And an astronomer named Hugh Ernest Butler credited similar areas to lightning strikes. But I'd imagine that there would be burn marks if it were a lightning strike. We know that a lightning strike just hit the PGA Tour Championship or something,
like
right?
6 or 7 people were injured,
Holy cow. Bad things happen when lightning strikes. There's no way it would just flatten something, right? At least that's my knowledge of nature. I don't know. We've already gone over the strange nature thing, so you just never know. It does weird things. In the 1960s, it marked a time where reports of crop circles and similar discoveries surged. So during the 1960s, everyone was just like making crop circles left and right. And in August of 1967, 3 circles were found in a field in Alberta, Canada. And the Department of National Defense, they spell it with a C. I thought that was interesting.
That's funny.
Ruled it a hoax, but had no proof that it was a hoax. So they couldn't find who did it or anything like that. But they're like, this is a hoax. That's what this is. One of the most famous cases of crop circles occurred in 1966 and inspired those pranksters, Bauer and Chorley, to start what they were doing.
I always find it curious, as a skeptical person, when a government entity steps in, labels something as a hoax, and then does not investigate who it could have been. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, it's fake. It's like, okay, that's still a crime then. Like, why the fuck aren't we trying to figure out who hoaxed it?
But you'd never
then?
find, like, fingerprints or anything. How are you going to find them?
You can just ask people, like, where were you on these nights? Do you have a corroborating ally? It's like, okay, well, we have spy drones that know you're lying. I mean, that's nowadays, but still.
I don't think they had drones in the 1960s, did they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you think that, sheeple. Just
oh, my
saying.
God.
That's why everyone saw UFOs, is because they were working on drones. They were just way bigger before.
Oh, I believe that.
Really? I just made that up off the top of my head.
I could totally see that.
Nailed it. You're welcome.
So a farmer in Tully, Australia, witnessed a saucer-shaped object rise 30 to 40 feet from a swamp and then fly away. And upon investigating said area, he found a nearly circular area that was 32 by 25 feet. So it's more like an oval, not so circular. But this area had grass that flattened in clockwise curves to water level within the area. So this wasn't crops. This was grass. So it was short grass it probably went above the water before, but it got lowered and flattened to the water level. And the reeds in the area had been uprooted from the mud. So everything got pulled out and shoved down.
If you're going to hoax something like this, I can't imagine marsh would be like your first place you'd want to go and do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was the mowing devil.
No, he avoids like wet areas. I'm pretty sure he likes the dry places.
Local police, the Royal Australian Air Force, and the University of Queensland all concluded that it was a result of natural causes like a down drought, a dust devil, or a water spout. which are scary in their own right, I think. When I've seen videos of water spouts, I'm like, how can you be out in your boat and not be scared of that right now? It's this close to you. It's just crazy. The Department of Defense, spelt with a C, wrote to a journalist that the saucer was probably just debris that had been lifted by a dirt devil. I don't know how much a dirt devil can lift, but for it to be big enough that you think it's a UFO, I mean...
If it's like a bunch of stuff that got uprooted, like reeds and stuff like that, all compiled together, and like it would like rotate in a circular disc, so I can kind of see that. But it would also be really, really friggin' windy, and you'd be able to see like the rest of the debris within the body of water, you know what I mean? Or within the water spout or dust devil or whatever the thing was. I feel like you would have known that's what it was. It's not like the rest of it is invisible.
Yeah.
Like if it's picking something up, that stuff's going to show within like the wind tunnel or whatever.
Well, and if it's picking up random stuff like grasses and things like that.
Like bitches. Hey, what's up, yo?
It would drop it somewhere. You'd find that huge chunk.
That's true. That's very true.
Anyway, we're not scientists. The 1966 case and the story of the mowing devil, those are all based in grass. So the fact that the following circles after 1966 were in larger crops is interesting, because prior to 1966, there really wasn't too many reports of crop circles. It was this thing from the 1600s, and then now this thing in 1966 where people are claiming, I saw an alien did it. And it's in grass. Though both those things are in grass. So it's pretty interesting that everything else since then has been in wheat or corn or crops like that. You know what I mean? So the fact that it's not in grass and it's in these crops makes me believe that those are all hoaxes. All the ones that are in crops is going off of what those two guys did. And they're like, those are crop circles. This is how we're going to do crop circles. And it's probably easier to do it in a crop that can bend over like that than grass. Grass does not move like that, I feel like.
Corn would be like the easiest thing to do it to, because they're very large, thin stalks, and they snap when you bend them over too far. So at some point, if you push them past the point where they're going to snap, they would lay down flat, you know, and they're so tall that if you were to bend them down, like, you'd be able to see it, and it would definitely look super odd. So I can understand why people would target it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, why? I don't understand people that want to hoax stuff where you're not going to get credit for it, and you're not going to have, like, a rafflecopter about it.
Rafflecopter?
You're going to have to wait and hope someone reports it, and then, like, if someone does report it, then you can be like, you see that? I made that shit up. Also, don't tell anyone, I don't want to get in trouble. Like, that's just kind of a lame prank to play, is all I'm saying.
Supposedly, there have been about 10,000 crop circles that have been reported all over the world. And these days, crop circles are much more than circles. Obviously, you've seen a whole bunch of pictures of the new ones that have been coming out.
It's like artists have really stepped up their game in their crop circle displays.
Their complexity is absolutely out of this world. Get it, extraterrestrial?
I hate you so much.
With some of them even containing more than 2,000 different shapes. Why you would want to do that is beyond me, but you go. Some also include mathematical and scientific characteristics. I can see that because, like the spiral ones, there has to be some geometric thing that makes that specific, special, perfect shape. It's just so cool. Physicists even believe that people use GPS and lasers now and like night vision goggles to do these things.
I can see night vision goggles so you can see, but lasers?
To make sure it's straight. To make sure.
For measuring purposes.
Yeah.
You're not just going in there and like doing that thing from Iron Man 2 where it's like bzzz, cuts everything down.
Then you would be the mowing devil.
No, you wouldn't. He doesn't use lasers.
Yeah, but
now you're just making shit up. You're making this dude seem way cooler than he is.
But then he'd be cutting stuff just like he did. So I mean,
I guess you got me there.
Yeah, just with lasers. Anyway, there are reports as recent as 2017 that are claiming a huge surge in crop circles due to the availability of drones and all the posting to social media. So people are starting to make more of these crop circles to post more. Or
maybe we're just observing more of them.
Maybe.
Yeah. Boom. Did I just blow your fucking mind there?
Yeah.
Just saying. Maybe aliens show up and they're like, hey, let's leave a message. Where should we leave it? Well, the last time we left it in someone's butt and that didn't go so well. They didn't appreciate it. So let's leave it in the crops. And they're like, do you think they can read it from here? They're like, I'm sure they'll figure it out. And now that everyone has drones, they're like, oh, cool. Like, let's go down there. Or maybe, and I don't think we've considered this possibility, that instead of it being people or assholes, There are aliens that are assholes who are just driving by like, look at that civilization that hasn't mastered like intergalactic travel yet. Let's go graffiti the shit out of their planet. And they're drawing intergalactic dicks everywhere. If I was an extraterrestrial and I saw a planet that's not going to know what I did, I would draw dicks in their crops all goddamn day.
But is it like an alien dick and that's why it looks the way it does?
Well, yeah. Now this is what we have here. Is we have representation of alien genitalia that we can confirm because
my gosh.
I don't draw a dick of a cow or something like that, or like the red rocket of a dog. Like when I draw dicks, I draw a human dick. You know what I mean?
Right.
My depiction is of a human dingle-donger. So I would imagine that if an alien's going to come down and put that in a crop, then that's what they're going to represent as their own personal junk.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
Some people believe that the messages are them trying to communicate with us with messages saying like, believe, or we're good people, or we're good things.
What if it's like, get fucked? Yeah. Or it's like they're rooting for their favorite team.
Right? But these people think like we can decipher it, like something out of...
And it's like intergalactic Google Troopers rule. Like, you don't know what it means.
What is that one movie with the aliens that come and we have a linguist that's trying to figure out what they're trying to say? The Visitors? The Visit?
No. I know what you're talking about. It's not Arrival either.
Isn't it Arrival?
It might be Arrival.
With the black
where
mist?
Their language is distinctly formed based off of like time, like the way they speak is completely different than the way we speak, and the more you start speaking their language, time starts flowing differently for you, so you can see fragments of the future and the past all at the same time. That movie?
Maybe. I don't
Oh my God, you don't pay attention to anything.
No,
I swear to God.
I don't remember that part of the movie.
There's going to be so many times when we're doing the new podcast where it's like, you're going to stop halfway and be like, oh, I've seen this, and I'm going to blow my brains out. Yeah, some quick IMDb searching. It is Arrival, and yeah, that's kind of the concept of their language. I won't spoil anything else, but like, their language is dealt with completely differently than English or any of the languages we speak, because their language is directly influenced by like the passage of time, which is super cool. It's absolutely fascinating, and I thought it was kind of boring. It's a slow movie for sure, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, and this alien language, I don't know how you could possibly decipher it without knowing anything about it. So I don't believe that, but...
What would be funny, too, is if they're giving us their alphabet, and then there's also people out there who are making shit up. So, like, we include characters that are not part of their alphabet, and they're like, what is that one? And we're like, I don't know. Like, it was in the field in Australia. They're like, that looks like a dick. Thanks for that. And we're like, it doesn't look like our dick. It looks like an alien dick. It's our bad.
So, skeptics have noted lack of fencing and anti-trespassing laws in places in the areas of crop circles. So, a researcher named Jeremy Northcote found that in 2002, crop circles in the UK were not at all random. They were placed in predominantly open areas with easy access, and he credited them to hoaxes by people. But that's what the aliens want you to believe.
Wow.
So he noted that inhabitants of the zone with the most circles were historically inclined to create large circular monuments like Stonehenge. So there was one that was found that was super duper duper close to Stonehenge, and everyone kept talking about that one. And then it came out like, we made this one, it's not aliens. So I think it's pretty interesting. So there are a lot of crop circles, and people even use the concept behind crop circles to create advertising in fields now, which I don't know why you'd crush your crops for that, but okay. So just letting you all know, you can make money creating symbols and crops.
Wow.
So anyone...
It's like, it's my choice what I want to do with my crops. It's
Right.
the choice of a new generation. Drink Pepsi.
You could totally do a heart to show someone that you love them. You know, people have done hearts with the arrows through it. So you guys could make a ghost and show us how much you guys love us.
You
That'd
could
be
propose
cool.
to your significant other and take them on a helicopter ride so they look down.
That is cool. I think that would be super cute. And I think overall in the scientific community, they believe that crop circles are hoaxes, and farmers that claim to have the real deal have the culprits come to claim their work when they're like, this is an alien crop circle. And these people come out like, no, we made this. It's not.
It's like, well, guess what? You owe me money now, dude.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why people don't come out and say, hey, I did this, because you can get arrested and go to jail for this kind of
Damaging
stuff.
someone else's property is still a crime,
Right.
even if it's a crop circle.
So people like Bauer and Chorley have solid methods on how to do these crop circles. They have ways of creating these complex circles now, and these people have demonstrated. There are videos of how these people do it, and you can watch it, and you could probably go and do it yourself. Just don't get caught, apparently.
Or don't do it.
Or don't do it, because, that costs
Official
people money.
scarish advice is don't do it. You'll get caught, and it'll be bad for you.
There are incidents of people getting caught in the act, and it's just not good. That's a whole mess on its own, so don't do it.
I imagine they deal with it like you deal with vandalism. Like, you evaluate the damage that you did, and then you have to pay that back.
Right. These farmers, this is what they do for a living. Like, I can't even grow a solid herb garden from seeds, let alone a whole huge, big bunch of acres of viable crops. That's insane.
And if you do, then you have to, like, harvest it without damaging it, and then sell that product. So it's like they have so much to do. They really don't need to be going out there to harvest their crops and be like, oh, look, there's a giant circle where my crops have been destroyed.
Right.
You know? It's
yeah.
like, I'd be so pissed.
I'm very curious as to how much that costs. Say one of the big fancier designs, how much does that cost? How much money do you lose?
It depends
from
on
that?
How much you would sell that thing for,
right.
and how much area was destroyed. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure they can literally figure out, like, you destroyed $10,000 worth of crops. That's how much you're going to owe
That's
me.
insane, dude.
Yeah.
Ugh. So all the skepticism doesn't mean that believers in the alien or non-human cause of crop circles take it lying down, because they definitely believe in what they believe. And they claim the conspiracy angle, that the government doesn't want us knowing that we aren't the only ones in the universe, and that they're covering up stuff. The truth is out there, all that. And some serious science publications during the 80s and 90s, like Science Illustrated, not to be confused with Sports Illustrated,
I don't know who would confuse those things, but thank you for that.
Well, not to be, like, related to. They don't have a bunch of models in glasses or something, Anyway, they published articles theorizing microwave radiation causing the circles because of the bending instead of breaking, like something of a physical impact would do. It would, like, break the stalk instead. The radiation would just bend it over.
I think it's
but
so
I don't know.
funny when they theorize stuff like this, and then there's a dude holding a board with ropes attached to it, like, raising his hands like, no, it was me with this. Like, I don't have microwaves. It was me.
These science publications, they even contained reports of recorded radiation at these sites. And whether that's true or not, I have no clue. But apparently, these days, it's considered complete, like, gobbledygook, fake, whatever. And interesting thing is that GPS wasn't openly available back then. So when people made these designs, they didn't have the help of this fancy technology. I don't think they had night vision goggles, things like that. You know what I mean? So how did they make these fancy circles?
Well, I mean, it's just like when you look at, like, the Aztecs, the Mayans, like, how were they great astronomers when they didn't have this or that? It's like, they just found another way to do it. It's that simple. So it's like, back in the 1960s, people were really good at hoaxing stuff without technology. They just used what they had.
There's even a small group of scientists that claim to have found differences between crops that are within the circle compared to the crops outside the circle on a molecular level.
That's weird.
So they claim that this is proof of unnatural causes. Others claim that there are bursts of energy, quote unquote bursts of energy, that cause electronics like cameras and even helicopters to stop working, which I think is totally strange.
One of those is way more dangerous than the other.
A woman by the name of Francine Blake has been researching these circles for years, claiming that the designs can appear within seconds or even milliseconds. And she claims that she has taken photographs of strange lights and orbs within crop formations.
Can you imagine blinking and then all of a sudden there was a crop circle?
Yeah.
I would lose
I can't
my
even.
shit.
If that happened, she was saying there was a report of a farmer. He was checking all his crops. He went from one end to the other. And when he rounded back again, 30 minutes later, there was a crop circle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those people work fast.
Right? I mean, you have to be a pro to do it that fast. Despite being inundated with hoaxes, Blake she fervently believes in the unnatural causation of crop circles, and she claims to have scientifically proven that the soil, water, and even the plants are chemically changed during the creation of the circles. So when she looks at things under a microscope, there's like these strange shapes in them. And she's definitely in that small group of scientists that believe in those differences. And so other than these reasonings for the causation of these crop circles, people are starting to talk about them having to do with ley lines. So I don't know how that would work with that.
And what are ley lines?
Supposedly ley lines are mystical and spiritual type places with like magic that goes along. Not quote unquote magic. I'm not saying that it's magic, like a magician type thing.
It would be like if the earth was a living being, a ley line would be the veins, and the veins carry magic through them.
Right. Yeah, something like that.
Cool.
And so people are talking about ley lines having something to do with the crop circles as well. There was something that I'd never heard of being a reason before, but some people are saying that it's a result of ball lightning. And
that's interesting.
I hadn't heard a lot about ball lightning until recently when a lot of people in the Discord were talking about it, I think, right?
Yeah.
So when I read that, ball lightning being the reason for these crop circles, all I could imagine was a battle between Sasuke and Naruto, and Naruto's coming from above Sasuke with like the Rasengan, and so when he hits, it makes that spirally thing.
I think we can all agree that you're way out of line on this. This was clearly either a Kamehameha or a Spirit Bomb.
No, that doesn't make the
Vegeta.
spiral. The Rasengan is the thing that makes the spiral because he has with his hands, right? He does the spinning
thing. So you're
thing
thinking of the spiral crop circles. I'm thinking the ones that are like concentric and just laid out. And those are very clearly Kamehameha or Spirit Bomb, maybe Gallic Gun. I don't know. But we're on two different ideologies right now. I am the crop circle Dragon Ball Z variety, and you're the Naruto crop circle crowd.
The crop circles are pushed down in a spiral.
Not always, though. Like what I was saying earlier about like microbursts or downdrafts or like meteors exploding, it's like there's a central focal point and everything laid out.
But that's not how crop circles are made.
Sometimes they are.
No, they're not.
Yeah, when you find them that way, that's how you know they're legit.
So, is it nature or is it paranormal, extraterrestrial? Researchers say that a majority of the crop circles are hoaxes, but that there are a number that they can't explain. And then I think of this and I'm like, no one really knows how to differentiate if something's real or not. So are there meanings to the designs? Are there messages? Or are they just landmarks for aliens to kind of traverse our planet? Someone said that. I thought that was interesting.
You know what it probably spells out? Like, no intelligent life here. And they keep stamping the planet with it every time they come back and visit.
It's messed up. All I know is they're definitely mysterious. And I mean, the people that make them, you guys are so talented. That's so cool. And they're definitely pretty to look at. So we'll be posting a couple pictures on Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's crop circles.
Right on. Good stuff. I can't wait to see which pictures that we have on our Instagram as well. But I want to do this before we move on. There's two things. One, we have a contest. Like the episode, that's optional. I'd prefer it if you did, but you don't have to. In the comments, at one of your friends, let them know that they should watch the podcast or listen to the podcast. And then also share it on your story, your Instagram story, Facebook, whatever the case may be. And help us grow, and you can win something. We're doing that until September 17th. And you can do that with every episode that releases of Scary-ish on any of our social media platforms. Okay, cool. We got that out there for the contest. 2, I will say, we had it's not paranormal, it's just scary-ish experience recently.
Yeah, it's definitely scary-ish.
We were driving back from Disneyland, and for the second time in a row driving back, for those of you who have never traversed from Disney to Las Vegas, basically you drive around, you get outside of like the Anaheim area, and then you get on the I-15. Once you're on the I-15, it's the I-15 North all the way to Las Vegas. It's about 3 hours on the same road. And once you get into the desert, it's a long stretch where there's no other road that'll get you to Vegas unless you like backtrack a ways. And last month we went to Disneyland, and on the way back, there was an accident. And we got stuck for like 3 hours. So it was like a 6.5, 7 hour trip because we were sitting there stuck in traffic waiting to get through. It happened again this month. We were traveling back, and we saw that there was an accident further up ahead on the GPS, and it told us, like, your estimated time of arrival has gone from, like, 10:30 to 11, then 11:30, then 12, then 12:30, because it was just a dead stop. So when we finally caught up to the accident, and it was a dead stop, I was like, well, there are some roads that will take us around the accident.
It was a 60-mile detour.
So I was like, well, why don't we just give this a shot? But that's the thing, is that I noticed this like right before we were at the accident, at the complete slowdown where it was going to be like a parking lot. And I was like, hey, do you want to take a detour? And Robin was like, yeah, sure. And I was just like, well, you have to get over and get off the freeway right now. So she did. So we basically drove through the middle of fucking nowhere in the desert. And it was just, there's no street lights. It's just 2 lanes, one in one direction, one in the other direction. And like Robin said, it was like a 60-mile detour.
It was dark. There was no light. You had to have the high beams on. If you didn't have the high beams on, you weren't seeing anything. And it was hilly, and it was just dip after dip after dip and hill after hill. And oh my gosh.
And while we were driving, Robin was a little hesitant to like go the speed limit because it's unknown territory, obviously, unknown terrain. And there were folks that were also taking the detour, but they were all just passing us, and like they were straight up fucking racing in the middle of the desert.
They were going 80 or 85.
Yeah, it was to the point where I was like, unless you know this road, like you don't know if there's a pothole, you don't know if there's like going to be a blind turn somewhere, you don't know if like there's not going to be a sign to warn you. But people were flying by us, and as we're going through, like we're getting further and further away from civilization, just basically going around like the mountain to come on the other side to get back on the 15. And as we're doing this, I'm like, I personally did this. I was like, I have songs downloaded on my phone because we had been streaming music on the way back. And I was like, I'm going to play the downloaded songs so it seems like I haven't lost cell reception, because I don't want anyone to worry about the fact that if we break down right now, we're in the middle of fucking nowhere with absolutely no service.
So, are you kidding me?
For 2/3 of the ride, we were in no mansville. Like, there was no cell service whatsoever. And I was like, just play music and act like you have like no worries in the world. And in my head, I was like, if our fucking tire blows out, or if we like catch the shoulder and get pulled off the side of the road, like we are fucked. Like we are stranded in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my gosh, why didn't you say anything?
This is Robin's first time learning this. And then like we got about 2/3 of the way, and I'm like, we're getting close. We should catch up to the freeway soon. And there was one person who was in front of us who was going even slower than we were, so we passed them.
Oh my goodness.
So we're traveling along, and all of a sudden in the middle of nowhere, we like come around a turn, and there's a cop blocking the road. Like we can't go any further, and it's like detouring us with cones, so we have to go to like an even more remote road. So we're taking a detour off our detour right now. I'm like, well, we're fucked. Like that's how we get back to the freeway. Like we're gonna have to turn around now. And so we take the detour that's been like made. It's been made to force us onto it. And then the GPS is like, take a right up here. And it's like a fucking dirt path in the desert. So like we get off to the side of the road and we like kind of look at the dirt path road. We're like, nah, like we're not fucking doing that. Like, and at that point there was a bunch of people behind us. They all passed us. And I'm like, just follow them, like see where they go.
And I was just like, this has to be a caravan. I need to butt up against this car or I'm going to get lost.
And then we kind of realized like those cars that had been passing us at the beginning of the detour had straight up been racing. Like there was like a few like trucks with people who like, I need an oversized truck to compensate for my tiny penis, and I'm going to drive like 90 miles an hour in the middle of fucking nowhere because it makes me look cool. And then there was like a Dodge Charger or a Challenger that passed us going way too fucking fast, like zigzagging around people like in the middle of nowhere. And we're like, huh.
There were a lot of scrapes.
Yeah, because like when it would dip, you could tell people were bottoming the fuck out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, one bad dip, and these fucking dudes are going to roll or flip or just crash into whoever they're trying to pass. And I'm like, oh, well, if we're all going the same exact direction, and now all of a sudden there's a cop in the middle of nowhere, like someone up there totally fucking crashed, and the road is unpassable, and they're having to deal with the accident, and that's why we got detoured. And luckily, the road they detoured us on did take us back to the 15, and by the time we got back after this like 45-minute detour, maybe 60-minute detour, we had knocked 50 minutes off of our time. So we actually saved 50 minutes by taking this super long detour, and the line of traffic like hadn't fucking moved. Like it was still just sitting there, and a few people were like trickling through. But like we were in the middle of the desert, and everyone was kind of freaked out, and I was like, I'm not gonna make this worse by telling them that like if we get stopped right now, we're boned because we can't make any fucking phone calls. And then Robin's sister was like, I have no cell reception out here. And I was like, I have 4 bars. And luckily, by the time she said that, we had come back close enough to civilization where my cell service had started to pick up the towers.
Oh my goodness.
Because it was definitely nerve-wracking.
That's, oh man, that's horrifying.
We got back
did
on
you
the
tell them about the ghosts too in the laundry room?
The other thing that we've had to deal with this past week is random stuff falling down in our laundry room. It's like laundry baskets are like falling off of their standing spot.
When they shouldn't be.
Yeah, and it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I understand if like the laundry is going, where everything's shaking, but like the laundry is straight up off. And we'll just be sitting in the
laundry basket was pushed out earlier in the day, and I was like, oh, Adam must have pushed it out. And so I just left. I just left. And
so you didn't adjust it back where it needed to be?
I didn't adjust it.
That's on you.
Well, I didn't adjust it, and I just left it there. And then you came home, and you're like, did you move this? And I was like, no, I didn't move it.
At that point, I moved it back to where it was supposed to be, too. Because I was like, this thing's sticking out in the middle of the walkway, like I'm going to knock into it, and it's going to fall down. And then we made dinner. We sat down to eat. We're eating, watching TV, and all of a sudden we hear clattering from our laundry room. We went in there, and it had just fallen down on the ground. And it happened twice. So we were just like, that's fucking weird. So I secured it really well. And I was like, we'll see if it happens again. So it's just been kind of creepy. It hasn't happened again. It would be crazy if we heard the noise right now, though. Wouldn't that be?
No, that would be very scary.
So just some stuff that we wanted to let you folks know about, just in case we have to report on it later again. But yeah, that's all of our paranormal / creepy driving activity, right?
Yeah.
All right, this is a really long fucking episode. So we're already around an hour. We're getting close there, and I haven't even started Bigfoot, and I have a lot on Bigfoot. So
all right.
Strap in. Get yourself a sandwich or something. Get yourself a drink, whatever you need to do. Take a stretch. But this week, to close out Skeptical August for myself, I decided I was going to cover the topic that I personally believe to be the highest profile topic that I am personally skeptic on. And we've had this topic come up in multiple polls to judge interest, the things where it's like, hey, you folks get to pick what topic we're going to cover. And it's actually never won out. So we've never thought that the interest in this was overwhelming, so that we needed to cover it. And I personally believe that it's because it is so high profile that basically everyone has heard about it, you know? So people want to hear about other things that are lesser known. But eventually, we knew we were going to come around to it. So without further introduction, spooky friends, I present to you Bigfoot, which I'm kind of excited to go through because it wound up being a really fun topic to research.
All right.
So first off, obviously, there's a lot of ground to cover here, and it's not like we've never covered creatures like Bigfoot before. We did cover the Yowie, or however you say it, which is like the Australian ape-like creature that does resemble Bigfoot. And most recently, I covered the Fouke monster, which is a very specific legend about a Bigfoot / Sasquatch-like creature.
Way.
I hate you so much. That lives in an area that just doesn't get along well with the local residents, and they've made a bunch of shitty movies about it. And after this topic is over, I'm sure we're going to cover even more stories about specific instances with a large, tall, ape-man style creature that's going to fall into the Bigfoot or Sasquatch category. I'm not that hairy. But anyways, we're eventually going to dabble back into it because this is something that's seen very, very frequently. So that said, for this topic, what I'm going to be covering is the origin and story following the sighting that would coin the term Bigfoot. Because it is very important, and I think this deals with a lot of the reasons why people are skeptical, and it's a really good story. So I'm not going to go through every Bigfoot sighting that's ever happened. I'm going to go with why we call it Bigfoot because of this specific instance, this specific sighting, and we're going to go from there, because it's a good story. And I think we all know that there are multiple names that we could associate with Bigfoot, like the first thing that I heard of when it came to a giant ape/man was Bigfoot. Like, that's what I knew growing up in the 80s. That's what you called them. And later in life, I heard someone use the term Sasquatch. And as a younger kid, I was like, what the fuck's a Sasquatch? And someone told me it's Bigfoot. Like, that's what a Sasquatch is. It's the same thing. These terms are interchangeable.
All right.
And if the Bigfoot likes to live in the mountains where it's snowy and it gets covered in snow all the time, it's called a Yeti or the Abominable Snowman. So those were the rules that I had growing up about these giant creatures. And now that I'm older, I know more of the specifics. Like, a Yeti is typically specific to the region of the Himalayas. And the separation is nice because we can cover them on a future topic because they do have different stories that are related to them.
Cool.
So we don't have to wrap all these up into one. We're going to cover Bigfoot right now.
Wouldn't it be cool
Yeti later.
if we were sponsored by that Yeti movie?
There's a Yeti movie?
Yeah.
Oh, Smallfoot? I'm pretty sure that shit already came out, bro.
Oh, man.
If you want to sponsor us for your, like, DVD 1-year anniversary release or whatever it is, Go for it. We're all about it. And of course, the most famous of all Yetis is Bumble, the abominable snow monster from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. His work in that film really served to turn around the negative portrayal of Yetis for future generations. I really feel like he blazed the path for that new Smallfoot movie that came out. So shout out to Bumble.
Oh my goodness.
Now, Sasquatch is, for the most part, interchangeable with Bigfoot. Bigfoot is a new nickname the creature acquired back in the 1950s, but it won't shock you to find out that there have been sightings of these creatures that predate the 1950s. So big shocker, people have seen Bigfoots before they were called Bigfoots. And that actually ties directly into the name Sasquatch that I do want to cover. So in America, we call the indigenous folks to this land Native Americans. In Canada, they're referred to as people of the First Nations or First Nations people. That's just sort of the moniker that's given to them. And as a fun side note of something that I learned, that the distinction between First Nations folk, they are called that if they live south of the Arctic Circle. If they're indigenous folks that live north of the Arctic Circle line, they're called Inuits. And I've heard both of those terms before, but I didn't know like where the line was or why you would call one and not the other. So that's what it is. So it's based off of the Arctic Circle and where they resided.
That's really cool.
So now I know that, and so do you. Although a bunch of you probably already knew that, and you're like, yeah, no shit, bro, get to the Sasquatch. So the people of the First Nations had many different languages and still do to this day. And one of those languages was Halkomelem. And I think I said that correctly. I listened to the pronunciation like 40 times. And most of the folk who spoke this language lived and still live in the Pacific Northwest area of Canada. So basically on the extreme west coast near the border with America.
All right.
They had a word called Sesquak, which translates to wild man. And as time went on, the word became a moniker of sorts for this very specific creature that kept being cited. And at this point, I'd like to take a step back and entertain the possibility that someone out there may not have heard of Sasquatch or Bigfoot before, because I usually give a description of cryptids when I cover them. So if you've never heard of Sasquatch and you've never heard of Bigfoot, I'm going to give you a description now. So
please enlighten me.
If you were to be out in the wilderness and come across a Bigfoot, here's what you would see. Its body was known to have varying shades of color, but it's typically a shade of blue. And it has been found to have enormous feet, changing in size depending on the sighting, sometimes up to 10 feet. And although it's typically seen to be around 11 feet tall, an iteration that had the 10-foot feet towers at 15 foot 6 inches and weighed over 38,000 pounds. Side note, I'm describing the monster truck known as Bigfoot because it was my favorite goddamn monster truck growing up. My brother's was Gravedigger. He can suck it. So if we're talking about the actual creature, though, when I said blue, you're like, what? I didn't know that.
I was like, how is its body blue?
If we're talking about the actual Bigfoot creature, they vary in size from the lower end being around 6 feet tall or roughly one atom in height to as tall as 9 feet tall. Keep in mind the 9 foot, 6 to 9 feet thing, not just because it's the sex number if you get rid of the dash, but keep that in mind for later. They're typically seen having finger-like appendages, walking bipedal, just like a big hairy dude that's out taking a nude stroll through the woods. They're covered in fur/hair, which is usually a dark brown or red, and sometimes black. And there are no blonde Sasquatches, which I thought was pretty interesting.
That's lame.
There's no red glowing eyes, so we know beyond the shadow of a doubt that they aren't
They're
evil.
good guys.
In fact, one of the folks that saw them described them with a native language that basically meant they had like the mild face, where like their facial expression was always something very calm or reserved.
Yeah.
Which is really crazy to think of if you're thinking of like a giant creature that people are, for the most part, pretty scared of. Like if you were to see it, it would be terrifying.
Scared of Bigfoot?
Well, like when you think about the Falk monster, it's like something that shows up and of course everyone's like, kill it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like its facial expression is supposed to be, at least in my brain, like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. So this is kind of what they look like. And aside from that, the feet that they are so famously named for have been reported to leave footprints as large as 24 inches or 2 feet long and 8 inches wide. Now, for comparison's sake, NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal wears a size 22 shoe.
What?
Some places report size 23. His own biography says size 22, which is huge, right? And you know your shoe is definitely bigger than your foot because your foot lives in your shoe?
Yeah. I
mean, obviously, I'm very tired because I'm describing how feet and shoes work right now. Like, people don't fucking know that. But a size 22 shoe is 16 inches long from heel to toe.
Okay.
That is the size of Shaq's shoe, not just Shaq's foot. foot. So Bigfoot lives up to its name because it's got 8 inches on Shaq.
Whoa.
And as a reminder, Shaq is 7 foot 1 inch tall, which is taller than the lower end Bigfoot. So its feet are bigger than it would seem to be proportional to its body. So Bigfoot is a pretty solid name. The footprints left behind resemble a human being's foot, 5 toes, only much larger. There have been casts made from alleged, I hope you can hear my air quotes, sightings that show the creatures having claws as well. When these popped up, a lot of those have been dismissed as bear prints because bears actually have 5 toes and really, really long claws.
Interesting.
Bear paws are fucking huge, by the way. If you've never like really researched bears to get into an idea of like what it would be like if you ran into one face to face,
I'd hug one.
You should do it because you wouldn't fucking hug one. You would run, and then you'd have to remember.
What about the one that family raised and they're like feeding it every day?
Gentle Ben?
What?
You never heard of Gentle Ben?
No.
You're gonna talk to me about bears that are like nice and you don't know who Gentle Ben is?
No, yeah.
Oh my god, check yourself, Robin.
Is that a movie?
No, it's a bear that was like famous for being like in every movie ever because it's a bear that had been raised to be polite and like kind and all that
so
shit.
Cute.
Yeah, but it's still kind of terrifying. I don't know which one that you were talking about because bears are like gigantic killing machines, and they're also enormous. So if you find a giant five-toed print with claws, it's more likely to be a bear than a squatch.
When I think of Sasquatch, I think it's very humanoid. So its feet are very human looking.
And that's how the original footprints looked, at least when it came to Bigfoot, you know? And we're going to get to the Bigfoot incident where it becomes named after this. Which is funny because I'm talking about how a lot of these footprints have been dismissed because they look so similar to bears. But the true believers of Bigfoot simply state that it's just another variation of Bigfoot feet. Like, oh, well, this kind of Bigfoot has bear-like feet instead of human-like feet. And it's like, if you're going to keep doing that, you're never going to delineate from the hoaxes and something that could possibly be real.
But think about it this way. If humans have so many different shapes and sizes, why wouldn't Sasquatch?
Okay, well, how many humans do you know have claws on their toes instead of just toenails?
Shaq has fucking size 22 shoes. Okay?
Regular human feet, though. He doesn't have claws. He's not.
You don't know that. Have you seen his toes?
Yes, I've seen pictures. I just fucking Googled how big his feet were. Of course, I've seen his feet. They're normal. They're just very, very large. So, all right, we're now getting into how did Sasquatch acquire the name Bigfoot in the United States? Which, let's be real, I think everyone's heard of Bigfoot at this point. Like, you know, if someone's saying Bigfoot, you immediately picture either the monster truck or the giant cryptid. So on August 27th, 1958 is where our story starts. A man named Gerald Crew, or Jerry. And when I typed Jerry, I just kept picturing Jerry from Rick and Morty. So this guy just seemed like more and more of a moron to me as I typed this out. Honestly, this Jerry's pretty solid, dude. He was heading to work. What was his job? He was a tractor driver. When I say tractor, think like the cat. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Caterpillar machine.
Yeah.
Very large industrial machine. He was part of a crew creating a road in a relatively uninhabited part of Northwest California, definitely in the Pacific Northwest region, very close to the border of Oregon, in fact. Jerry was from a place known as Humboldt County, Humboldt. If you're from there, give us a shout out because we say a lot of stuff regarding regions, and when we get specific, I always like to know if people like grew up around there or have been there or any of that stuff. His job was fairly close by. He didn't have to drive too far, and when he arrived at his destination, he got to his tractor, which had been parked overnight. The location is around 20 miles north of the Hoopa Indian Reservation. So for those of you who know the area, now you know pretty much exactly where to picture. Upon arriving, he noticed something peculiar around his tractor. Tracks could be seen that moved up to it, around it, and then leading away down the road. The tracks appeared human, except they were really, really big. When measured from heel to toe,
it was Shaq.
They were 16 inches. And I put side note, mystery solved, Shaq has a time machine.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page there. So Jerry's first reaction to this was not a quote, but quote, "What is this fake bullshit?" Because he thought immediately like someone's messing with me. He did not think like I have discovered the most important zoological find in the history of mankind. Now he was like, this is bullshit. Who did this? This is really, really annoying. So he did think they were fake. He thought someone was messing with him. He heard other workers on different job sites had seen similar tracks of some unknown origin that looked roughly human but oversized. So he figured it was someone that wasn't on his crew had done it because, simply put, his crew would have been too tired to pull something like this off. I was reading an interview with him. There's a really good write-up from like 1959 where they interview him, and he talks about like no one on my crew basically would go back up the mountain to our job site after we had all left to like strap on weird like fake boots and stomp around my tractor. Like, we're all too tired, we're working too hard, it's not going to happen, and someone would have seen them if they did.
Yeah.
So he's like, I think it's fake, but I think someone from outside my crew did this to mess with us. So that's what his initial reaction to finding these prints was. This is just straight up fake. That's where he was at. But these tracks are still there. So he followed the tracks, and they started on a road in front of his tractor that led up the mountain, led down to his tractor, circled it, then departed, heading further down the road, heading towards the camp for workers that was at the base, which was like 175 feet down the road. And the space between each footstep was measured to be around 45 to 60 inches. So basically, this thing had a stride of around 5 feet, which is a really, really long stride.
Yeah.
He tried to enlist some of his coworkers to help him solve the mystery. Most of them were like, I've got a lot of work to do, I'm getting too old for this shit, and they went on with their day. Some of them did check this out, though, and they thought it was odd, but most thought it was just straight up a hoax. Like, someone's playing a game, they're messing around with us. And they also claimed that they either knew someone who had seen something similar on other locations, or they had heard about someone who had seen something similar. But in the end, they just went about their day. They just got to work, shit had to get done, and they blew off these tracks. They're like, fuck it, we have shit to do. About a month passes, and it happens again. So now we're into September, and the tracks were all around various parts as if something came into the camp, inspected it, and then left. And this time, tracks led down to a spring further down the road off into the woods. They were able to track it basically to a water source.
Okay.
So then they're thinking,
and then
like,
once it goes through the water, it's like, the tracks are gone.
yeah, they're thinking at this point, like, maybe this thing is real and it went to go get some water after it checked out our site, but we don't really know. And they went about their day. They got to work. They just did what they did last time. They did think it was weird, and they just figured someone was messing with them. But after the second incident, one of the crew members went from skeptic to full-on believer and just decided that this must be something that's real. And his wife wound up writing a letter to the Humboldt Times, which is the newspaper of the local area, the local fish wrapper, as they call it, about what was happening. That's totally from Hot Fuzz.
Oh my gosh.
Well, they say we're not a fan of the local fish wrapper because it lists her age as 55 when she's actually 53.
Oh my gosh. I never even
You clearly
realized
haven't seen the movie enough. It's because they wrap fish in newspaper. So, okay. Anyways, getting back to it. After the second incident, this guy goes from skeptic to believer. His wife writes to this newspaper, okay? So she basically writes in asking if there were other reports in the area or additional information about a creature that could be making these footprints, or if like anyone had heard about a hoax that's going on. And a man named Andrew Genzoli was the editor of the Humboldt Times. And when he first got the letter, he was like, whatever. And he just tossed it on his desk like, this is nonsense. But as time went by, as the day went on, he kept thinking about the letter and what it was asking him. So he was looking at it, and he was just basically like, fuck it. And he published it in the paper. He's like, I'm putting it in the paper. We're going to see what happens. He assumed people would write in and be like, wow, that's some horse shit. But in response to the letter, people were indeed reaching out like he thought, but they were reaching out to say that they had seen things in the woods too. They had also seen tracks. They had also seen really bizarre, strange creatures walking around, not very frequently, but people started saying like, I've seen this shit too. On October 2nd, the creature would reappear and make tracks again. And it's a shame these guys worked so hard, because if someone would have just stayed there, the thing showed up 3 nights in a row.
What?
So they kept finding fresh tracks October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And Jerry at this point was like, fuck it. And he brought along some plaster to make casts of both of the feet.
Okay.
So after he made the casts, he went into town. I believe the town's called Eureka. And he was going to show a friend in town what he had found. And when he was there, the editor of the paper actually found him, because someone had let the editor of the paper know, like, hey, Jerry's in town. He works on the job site that guy's wife wrote you about the Bigfoot. So here's the thing. At this point, they're not called Bigfoot yet. And he goes and finds Jerry, and as soon as he sees the casts, he's like, this shit is going on the front page. And it did. And you can see the picture on our Instagram. It's a pretty famous picture. Then interviews would be done with the crew, and they would reference the big foot they had found. because it's a Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
Right, literally
They weren't trying
a
to
Bigfoot.
create a name. They were just straight up saying, like, we found a track. It's of a Bigfoot. And, like, the guy was carrying around a cast of a Bigfoot. So I think the first time it's printed, it's actually printed as two separate words until someone at the paper was like, nah. It'll be better if we combine this into Bigfoot. One word, because it's catchier. And I'll be honest, they were kind of right. And it's a good thing because when the picture and word of the sighting was picked up by the national press, it absolutely exploded across the country, like nationwide. Not even just nationwide, international, in fact. Canadians were like, yeah, that's the Sasquatch, eh? Like, we know all about that shit. So, I mean, they're like, oi! No, not really. And I shit you not, the Americans at that time, when they were, like, being told by Canadians, like, that's Sasquatch, were like, Canadians. And they probably made the jerk-off motion with their hands because they were assholes about it. They were seriously assholes about it when it came to Canadians trying to, like, reaffirm the sightings that they were seeing. And I'm not even joking about this. This is an excerpt from True Magazine, published in 1959. It's actually a really good article because it's an interview with Jerry. It's titled The Strange Story of America's Abominable Snowman. This is a quote specifically relating to how Americans dealt with Canadians confirming this, okay? Quote, of course, there have been similar reports of a creature called Sasquatch from all over British Columbia for a century. For a century, he says. But then, Canadians are still sort of foreigners, and also there are far too many Indian legends mixed up in their stories.
Oh my
End
gosh.
quote. Unbelievable. They're like, foreigners, we don't need your confirmation. Thank you. It's just such a dick thing where they just dismissed
Canada's up
an
there
entire
just like...
other country of people who are like, we see them more often than you and we've seen them for a long time. And they're like, nah, not like Bigfoot. You guys just have Sasquatch. And they're like, it's the same thing. Cue jerk off motion. It's
what
like, they were just assholes about it. So the guy that employed Jerry Crew and his coworkers was named Ray Wallace. And he started to get very nervous. He has this job site where either his workers are fucking around and creating a hoax to attract a ton of attention, or some creature is showing up and everyone's getting distracted, or someone else is breaking into the job site basically and screwing around and creating this hoax. Like, what are you going to do if this thing actually shows up and attacks someone, or if things start getting stolen by whoever's perpetrating a hoax? Or maybe the Bigfoot shows up and drives off with a tractor. We don't know his abilities and his certifications. He could be excellent at operating heavy machinery. No one knows. He's a creature of myth. So Ray asks his brother, Wilbur, Wilbur Wallace. And when I read it, I was like, William Wallace? What a coincidence. I was like, oh, wait, no, his name is Wilbur.
Oh, okay.
He asks his brother, Wilbur, who was actually on site. He was working the job on site to figure out what the hell was going on. And some weird shit was happening, and Wilbur came back and told him about a few instances. In particular, one night, Bigfoot tracks were found leading into the worksite and up next to a 55-gallon drum of fuel. Wilbur claimed that the tracks showed the 55-gallon drum had been stood next to, and it had also disappeared. There were no tracks showing that it was rolled or dragged, so it appears it got picked up. And it was walked partially down the road before it was thrown, and it wound up landing 175 feet down the road. Okay, so something carried it to basically the precipice of the road where it drops off.
Is it possible it was airlifted and then it was too heavy,
and no one noticed
dropped?
Like a helicopter showing up in the middle of the night? And like the base where these guys sleep at sometimes is 175 feet down the road.
Okay.
So what they know is that the track showed up eventually, so it looks like something threw it, and then it landed in the ground and then rolled the rest of the way down the hill. Also, a big tire for one of the machines had also been carried away in similar fashion. The tire itself was for like one of those giant cat machines, so it weighed 250 pounds. After being carried for a distance, it was then rolled down the road into a direction where it would fall off a cliff and into a ravine.
Wouldn't it be cool if someone just found a cave that one of these big feet, one of these things.
They are both correct. I looked that up.
Oh, okay.
Bigfoot and big feet can be used to describe multiple Bigfoots.
Okay, so wouldn't it be cool to run into one of their caves, just find one of their caves, and it was just filled with random stuff
that it's been stealing from civilization this whole time?
But they've been using it for amazingly genius things.
Yeah, I'd say that would be really cool. I think it's way more likely we would find a cave with a Bigfoot in there, and they're eating jack leeks, beef jerky.
Oh my gosh, jack leeks?
No, we're not sponsored by Jack Links this week.
Sponsor us.
We fucking wish. All right. Anyways, it sounds like Bigfoot in this situation is kind of being an asshole, but it also sounds like he's just having fun with stuff, like you're saying. Like, he's checking out the things that exist and just, like, throwing it, apparently. But the head honcho hears this, and he's like, God damn it. So he hires hunters to track down the thing. And the hunters showed up, and they followed tracks around, and eventually they claimed that they located it at night near the end of October. And they said that it was over 6 feet tall, it was covered in hair, and it was on the side of the road when they came across it. They were driving at the time, and their headlights came on it. And when it saw them, it crossed the road, quote, in 2 strides, and then it disappeared into the woods. They measured the road after the sighting and said the road was 20 feet wide.
Wow.
And the creature had crossed it in 2 strides when it was running away from them.
That's insane.
Which is fucking
it's like it leapt.
Crazy.
It was just like leap.
It was like,
leap.
nope, I'm out of here. And it just bailed. And plenty of people at this time, when all these details keep coming out, were very, very skeptical. And a woman named Betty Allen, who wrote an article on Halloween of 1958 regarding the sightings, I can't tell if she was skeptical or if she was just trying to give it fair coverage, but in the article they detailed various things that had happened and different ways that these tracks could have been made. One of the things that was floated in this article was information that folks have been talking about regarding the footprints and how they could have been done using like a wooden carving of some sort or like wooden feet to make these tracks.
Okay.
And within this article, when it talks about this, there was actually a bounty that had been placed by someone who's trying to disprove Bigfoot for the wooden foot that they thought was being used, and they're offering $1,000 to anyone who would step forth with the evidence that it was fake and show them what like wooden foot thing was being used. And that would be like $8,900 now. If someone would be like, I think this is fake, I'm going to offer you $8,900 to bring me the evidence that shows this is fake. In Betty's article, she states, quote, there is $1,000 which could go to the fund for the badly needed hospital project of the Community Health Association at Hoopa if the wooden feet could be located, proven to be wearable to produce Bigfoot's tracks. So not only does she mention the fact that there's this bounty on the feet, she mentions that like that money would be better served going somewhere else, like the hospital on the Indian reservation nearby. Wow. Assholes. Like, and she just kind of tosses that out there. And Betty got the idea to go speak with the indigenous people of the area at the Hoopa Reservation, which I think is kind of why she tosses this out in this article. The information she would gather from the folks at the Hoopa Indian Reservation is not part of this exact article, but she was able to get a few hot takes from some of the Native Americans that are really, really good. Here are some quotes that she received. One gentleman said, quote, good Lord, have the white men finally got around to that?
Wow.
In reference to Bigfoot as a creature, like, oh, they finally figured it out, huh? Which is just absolutely hilarious to me. Another gentleman said, the Bigfoot were run out of this country by the miners in the 1848 to 1849 gold rush. Before that, there were quite a number of them, end quote. So this guy is basically saying, like, yeah, these things were real, and they were all over the place before, and then you assholes showed up and started fucking everything up,
Wow.
and they left, and we don't see them anymore. So I think it's super, super interesting. And time would go on after this. Sightings would continue to come in. Folks would go hunting in the woods for tracks, and the legend of Bigfoot would continue to grow. 8 years later, 2 men named Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin would head into the Six Rivers National Forest, which is very much nearby where this all took place, like just a few miles away, in fact. They went into the forest with the intention of making a documentary about Bigfoot and took along with them equipment to film. However,
they ended up making up the Blair Witch Project.
No. They went in there, and Bob was like a cowboy, so they went in on horseback because like there's no better way to traverse the terrain
really cool.
than on horseback. So this instance, in my opinion, is the most famous footage/photo of Bigfoot to date. It was made in 1967 when they went in there, and it is still debated about to this day. It's a video of what appears to be a female Bigfoot walking across the creek.
How do they know it's female?
Because it looks like it has big old hairy titties. So
okay.
If you've ever seen the video of Bigfoot walking like across like the terrain, that's this video. They filmed this in Six Rivers National Forest when they went in there. It's also suspicious to me that they were able to find such a perfect shot of Bigfoot when they went to make a documentary about Bigfoot. But as we're going to get to a little bit later, not both of them went in there, in fact, to make the documentary about Bigfoot. Bob, who was the cowboy, kind of went in there to like show them around so they could see the area. He was also a part of it, but it like wasn't his passion to find Bigfoot or anything. He wasn't a documentarian. He was just a cowboy. What's interesting about this video, it was shot in 1967, meaning it's over 50 years old. It has never been debunked.
Wow.
To this day, people that are skeptical of it are just like, I'm pretty sure it's fake, but that's all they got. Like anything else, like in 1967, like none of this shit was CGI. So if it was a guy in a suit, it had to have been one of the greatest suits ever made, and everyone kept their fucking mouth shut about it for 50 years. The two men that filmed it, Bob and Roger, to this day maintain that it's 100% authentic, which is a lot easier for Roger to not change his story because he is dead. So,
okay.
Here's the thing. This is sort of the origin story of Bigfoot. It's where the name came from. It's the incident involved with it, all the people involved with the naming. And then I also wanted to toss in this last part about the most famous footage of Bigfoot. Because these are the two things I knew about Bigfoot. And rather than jump into all the other various sightings that have occurred, I want to follow this particular thread of the story to the end. So Ray Wallace, the guy who was the boss of the workers, was actually well known for his pranks. And one of the reasons the crew dismissed it at first when they saw these tracks is because they thought he was a candidate for the person that was messing with them. And after the prints kept showing up and stuff started getting destroyed, and Ray called in some hunters, he kind of went away as a suspect in the workers' eyes. Jerry was like, it's probably not him. Like, he wouldn't be doing this to his own job site. It seems weird.
Yeah.
Ray Wallace actually passed away in 2002, which is crazy to think as 17 years ago.
That is insane.
On his deathbed, he told his family something very interesting. He told them that back in 1958,
he saw aliens.
He had acquired a pair of carved wooden feet and decided to stomp around a tractor on one of his job sites. The family did go public with this information at the end of 2002, beginning of 2003.
The government made them do it.
Letting people know of these details. This is a quote. This wasn't a well-planned plot or anything. It's weird because it was just a joke, and then it took on such a life of its own that even now, we can't stop it. This is what I remember mainly about Bigfoot, is that my senior year in high school, the Bigfoot incident was revealed to be a hoax. Ray came out and he was like, yeah, I used wooden feet and I made the whole shit up. Like, straight up. It started as a prank, it got a bunch of attention, and then it just kept going, and there was nothing we could do about it. And so for me, I think that's why when people ask me, like, do you believe in Bigfoot? I'm like, no. Like, the guy who, like, made up Bigfoot admitted that it was all made up.
Has anyone ever found the wooden feet?
I'm not sure if the wooden feet were turned over or what happened to them, but this guy straight up was just like, yeah, it was all fake. And a lot of the people involved were like, we're pretty sure Ray is the one who did this. And in 1958, those rumors had floated enough within the first 2 months of these incidents happening that there was a $1,000 bounty on the wooden feet that people kind of knew were the cause of these footprints. You know what I mean? So this shit all ties together.
Ray was totally like, I need money for my family. I got to figure all this stuff out. And the government was like, we'll give you money if you admit that was fake.
Ray, like, he was dying. Like, I don't know why you think he needed money at the time.
For his family, because he's dying.
You don't know that he's broke, though. So the government would just step forth and be like, yo, just say that this is fake way after the fact when no one's going to believe you, and not present the physical evidence of the wooden, like, flip-flops, basically, that you used to make all this shit up. So that's what I remember very strongly about this, is that Ray came out and said that this shit was fake. And most folks that believe in Bigfoot, especially scientific researchers, cryptozoologists, and folks that have, like, actually found a category for, because there's so many sightings of Sasquatch-like creatures, took this to mean that this inciting incident where the Sasquatch got renamed was bullshit, but not Sasquatch itself.
Okay.
So things like this are really what make skeptical people outright dismiss the entirety of this story. The part where the Native Americans near the site that were interviewed were like, duh, idiots, like, they used to be up here before you guys started fucking everything up.
But do you think they troll people?
The Native Americans?
Yes.
Maybe, but, like, it's named after, like, a word meaning wild man in a Native American tongue, in the first people tongue that's been around for thousands of years. That, like, there's only a few hundred people left in the world that still speak this language.
Way.
Yeah. And it's like, that existed way before Ray Wallace decided to make up some shit with some wooden flip-flops. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the other thing, is like, that shit gets left out, or the countless sightings all around the Pacific Northwest and especially Canada before this happened gets left out, because one guy pulled a prank and basically fell ass backwards into a bunch of other things that were like, no, that shit's real, bro.
Yeah.
So, and he probably did it because he had heard the stories of stuff being sighted in basically what was unexplored wilderness that they were running a road through. And so many parts of the Bigfoot legend wind up having something fake attached to it because of people like this. And it drives me crazy. Like the video from 1967. So there's a really interesting story behind this video.
I was just thinking like maybe the government does that on purpose, where it's like you're getting too close.
You are such, it's just like you toss in an alien or a government agent and all of a sudden it's like, see, it's actually still real even though all the evidence points that it's fake. So put on your tinfoil hat if you're with Robin because you are a true believer in this stuff. But anyways, the 1967 video that came out that is still hotly debated to this day that shows off what Bigfoot looked like, filmed by Roger Patterson and Bob Gremlin, has interesting background to it. So actually not the video, but the relationship between the two. What a lot of folks don't know is that Bob Gimlin stated that the film destroyed his life.
What?
He flat out says like that being attached to that film destroyed my life. And when you hear that, you think, damn, like all the skeptical people shit all over that poor dude. Well, yes, kind of, but there's way more to the story. And when they saw this thing in real life, they took the camera and recorded it. This is the story that Bob gives, basically. And they saw it for a lot longer than the video shows. And once they got the footage developed, Bob Gimlin was basically like, that's not even the good shit. Like, we saw way better stuff. And, like, he wasn't super impressed. But Roger was. Roger thought he had the greatest thing since sliced bread in his hands. He was going to cash in on it. And he was kind of annoyed that Bob was kind of, like, not super enthused about this whole thing, right? And they shopped it around everywhere. Like, they tried to get various people to buy the rights to it and tell their story. But Bob wasn't a scientist or a documentarian. He was a cowboy, you know? He had shit to do back on his ranch. And that was what was on his mind, was getting back home and getting back to it. And he's the one that got them into the region. So he definitely had a big part of the story to tell because he was there when it happened. But he wasn't really all that interested in just going on a world tour and talking about this a whole bunch. And when Roger realized that he wasn't into what they were doing, he basically asked him in the nicest way he could, or maybe not, to fuck off, and he would handle it on his own. He was like, you were involved with this, I get it, but I'm going to take over from here. So how did he take over from there? Well, and this is 100% true, he hired someone. He hired an actor to pretend to be Bob Gimlin.
What?
And travel with him and tell the story and cash in with him. And you know what the real Bob Gimlin didn't get after this?
What?
Any of the money associated with the story in the video when it was sold. But he did get shit on super hardcore by everyone who we live by. They all basically treat him as if he was crazy or just totally full of shit. And people used to come to his house in the middle of the night and like honk the horn and flash the lights and fuck with them. And wait till he woke up and tell them like they were going to go like Sasquatch hunting or Bigfoot hunting. His wife actually got harassed at her place of work. She would come home crying.
That's horrible. Why are people
telling him
horrible?
that like she wished he had never made the video and he had never been involved with it and how upset she was. And even through all this, he didn't come out and say it was fake. He never came out and said like we made all this shit up, even though he wasn't getting money and he was getting harassed and he was being treated like shit while this guy basically absolutely hired an actor to pretend to be him. Like he never came out and said it was fake. Not once did he do that.
So that means
real. That's super interesting. But what you find out when you hear this story is one of the guys who shot the Sasquatch video paid an actor to pretend to have been there, which is like the headline that was used when it came out that this dude like paid someone to pretend to be Bob. So he walked away from the whole Sasquatch thing for like 35 years. And at some point, and I think it was also around 2003, some guy came to him and convinced him to go to a convention. And when he was taken there, he realized that if he's in the right place and he's with the right audience, when he tells his story, he's basically a fucking hero.
Wow.
And like he gets met with thunderous applause instead of like sideways glances. And more importantly, like if you're going to these conferences and you're telling this amazing story, you can probably rake in the dollar bills, y'all.
Did he?
I hope so. He's still alive too.
What?
He doesn't look that old. Like he has like a really gray mustache now. And the article I read was from 2019. And he talks about how like all the different things that happened to him, like when this story came out and like how Roger on his deathbed like asked him to come see him so he could apologize to him and tell him he was wrong for hiring an actor to replace him. And it's like, yeah, well, thanks, bro. Like, the only thing I got going for me right now is I'm alive and you're dead. Fuck you.
Wow.
Because it's like he basically like participated in making this guy's life even shittier for such a long time. And he let like this thing kind of fade away before he stepped back into it like in the way he chose to, instead of just kind of being thrown into it.
Yeah.
But when stuff like this happens, it almost becomes impossible to separate the parts that are bullshit from the parts that could be true, you know?
Sounds like crop circles.
This, I know, right? They really do. They sound very similar. And this sort of thing is exactly the reason I cannot stand it when coverage of something isn't rooted in research and is instead presented in the most sensational way possible. And it might get more attention. It might. Like, this episode right now might do better if I claim that I converted from skeptic to believer because of what I found, but that's not the story. The story is about a dude who hoaxed some Bigfoot prints and, like I said, fell ass backwards into a culture of people that were like, nah, dude, like, that shit's real. And more people than he could ever imagine were part of that crowd. And his own family, after he passed away, said, like, they couldn't control it because it took on a life of its own. It's because, like, it wasn't theirs to begin with, you know? It had been around for a lot longer than them. They just became, like, the focal point of it because the guy owned the job site and he was the one that hoaxed this particular sighting, which wasn't even a sighting. It was just prints, you know? It was just straight up footprints.
Yeah.
Like, people weren't seeing this thing on the job site. They were seeing the evidence of something had been there before, which would explain why no security guard was ever hired to go hang out by the tractor and wait to see a fucking Bigfoot and either shoot it or, like, be like, go on, get away.
Go on, get.
So it's just very annoying to me that there's so much fake stuff attached to the Bigfoot legend that really drives people away, because it's an example of why skeptical people will outright dismiss stuff regardless of how much evidence there is, because evidence should be the thing that draws a skeptic to want to find out the truth, you know?
Yeah.
And when you find out, like, oh, a few of the people were 100% full of shit in something that they did, it's really hard to hang around and still stay attached to a story.
The hoaxers just ruin everything.
They really do. People that get attached to it, that are looking to make a quick buck, totally fuck stuff up. Because a lot of times that, like, when people come out of the woodwork on something like this, like they did in 1958, some of them come out to confirm things based off personal experience that they've had, and some come out to capitalize on this new sensation by faking whatever they need to get money from people, you know? And people still do that to this day. People still do that for Bigfoot to this day. A guy whose name I'm not even going to share because he's a douchebag. He had a bunch of hype that he purposely, like, put into the media about finding the remains of a Bigfoot in Georgia in 2008. And a lot of people wanted to see it, and he wasn't going to present it. He wanted to make sure he had, like, a lot of eyes on this, and it got a ton of attention. And you know what it wound up being? A Halloween costume filled with roadkill. Like, he had just found the remnants of dead animals squished on the road and stuffed it into a Halloween costume and put it into, like, a cooler. So very quickly, as soon as anyone examined the evidence, they're like, this is 100% bullshit. This guy's a liar. That was 2008. 2014, the same guy did another hoax. This time he declared that an unnamed university had tested the creature's DNA that he had caught in Texas. It was, of course, dead. And he stated that the university had come back stating that the species was of unknown origin, then took the thing's remains on a tour, selling tickets to see it. Only a few months after the tour began, he eventually cracked and told people on Facebook that it was all horseshit that he had made up, and the creature was actually made of latex, foam, and camel hair.
Gross.
People will do anything to make money. They don't care who they have to defraud or how much they have to lie. It doesn't bother them until they're finally caught. And nothing in me thinks that in 2014, this dude decided, like, I'm going to be a good person and admit that I lied. He probably just got caught. So is the whole thing made up? Well, no, it's not. Like, we know it's been around for a lot longer than the name Bigfoot showed up. And before I did this research, I had never heard the name Gigantopithecus, which I had to listen to the pronunciation a million times for. Gigantopithecus was a creature that is now extinct that lived on this planet for a very, very long time, like from 9 million years ago up to around 100,000 years ago, which means like 8,998,000 years ago, or 900, however long ago it was. They were around for a very long time. They're almost on this planet for 9 million years, okay? And it was all over. It was all over in Asia. It was in India, Vietnam, China, Indonesia. It was all over these regions. And there are even folks that believe that it migrated north into the Russian area as well, and across the Bering Strait, which would put it in the Alaska, Canada territory along the Pacific Northwest, which is where most of the Sasquatch sightings come in. So what did Gigantopithecus look like? Well, it was an ape. The fossil record that we have on it, because it's a real thing that we have evidence of, appears to confirm that it was the largest primate that ever lived. It was around 10 feet tall, although some fossils show that it could range as low as 6 to 6.5 feet. So you remember that 6 to 9 reference I made earlier?
Yeah.
This is 6 to 10 of something that actually 100% existed for a really long time, that lived on this planet in the region that Bigfoot is most often seen. And it's thought to mostly resemble a mixture between modern-day gorillas and modern-day orangutans, only much larger. So, very, very hairy. And orangutans tend to walk upright on both feet. They can walk on all fours if they want to as well. But imagine those things, but like 10 feet tall.
If our evolution chain split at some point, isn't it possible that they're just a part of a different evolutionary
And when
point?
Homo sapiens started to kind of take over is around the time these things started to fade out too, which is super interesting because it's like it might have wound up being like the most dominant like primate on the planet, but instead it went a different direction and these things started to fade away. And we say they're extinct because we don't know of any that live now. We don't see any.
Yeah.
Which is super interesting to me because it leads me down two trains of thought. Either they could still exist and we just don't see them because they exist in very low numbers and they're very good at hiding.
Yeah.
Or they are extinct. And if they are extinct, that means there's none of them anymore, right? They can never exist anymore. Those things never come back if they're extinct. Except for all the fish species we keep rediscovering, where we're like, they were extinct for 100 years and now all of a sudden they're back. And we have no idea how they did that.
Well, I mean, they're also thinking about bringing back dinosaurs, so.
I would go see them.
What?
I mean, after the first couple,
never watched Jurassic
after the
Park?
first couple disasters, I'd be like, okay, I'm pretty sure at some point that park lives happily ever after, and now I'm gonna go.
What's so mind blowing is they saw what happened with Jurassic Park, and they're like, let's make a Jurassic World.
Well, Jurassic Park is fictional. They're probably like, we can do it better. But I'm gonna get back to the extinct thing though. Like, there are species of fish that have returned. There are species of reptiles. There are species of frogs and snakes within those reptiles that have been extinct for a very long time that just show back up. There's species of cats that have been extinct that have shown back up. There's species of dogs that have been extinct that show back up. There's species of primates that have been extinct that have just shown back up. Like, it's happened across like all different forms of species, and they don't know. And it's not likely that like the Earth just churned back out the exact same thing that it had churned out before with no evolutionary path. It's more likely that we just didn't see any. They weren't actually extinct.
Because their numbers are so low.
And because we didn't see any and we assumed they were extinct, they could actually repopulate enough where we're running into them again. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not saying that I believe Bigfoot is real. I'm not saying I believe Sasquatches or Gigantopithecus is definitely out there. But I think it's far more likely that this is the case than I did yesterday before I did the research. And I think what it really comes down to is whether or not you believe that we've discovered every species that exists on this planet and whether or not you believe that if something is extinct, that it can't come back. Because I can tell you that both of those things are 100% confirmed, and we haven't discovered all species that exist on the planet.
There's no way.
And we do know things that are marked extinct can come back or just reappear because we didn't see them.
I think that's amazing. Nature is so incredible.
Yeah, and you have to keep that in mind when you talk about something like this. Like, it's very important to note that something that looks exactly like Bigfoot definitely existed on this planet for an incredibly long amount of time before it disappeared. And keep that in mind when you think about Bigfoot. And here's the thing. It's more likely now that if I were to talk about Bigfoot, I would acknowledge the fact that it could exist today than it was yesterday. But today, I'm far less likely to believe a human being if they were to tell me that they saw it. Because so many people attached to stuff like this are attention seekers and are full of shit. Because they want to be like, yeah, I saw Bigfoot. Like, everyone look at me. Everyone listen to what I have to say.
Yeah.
And if I can figure out how, everyone give me money, you know?
Yeah.
And like that attitude and that mindset, I cannot stand. And that's where my skepticalness kicks up, where I'm like, I'd rather protect myself from someone that's possibly lying and ignore something that might be a real sighting than let someone in that's actually telling me the truth, you know? That's why, for me, research is so important because, like, the facts will tell you a story that a person might not even be able to because, from their perspective, they don't remember everything. Or they might leave out specific details that are very pertinent to the story. So, what this research has done for me is made me more skeptical of humans than of Bigfoot. So, I guess that is something. It really is. So, like, Skeptical August, I think, for me, was a success.
Cool.
So that, my friends, is the tale of Bigfoot. And like I mentioned, we're going to talk about other man-ape creatures at some point. There's a lot to go through. There's still a lot more incidents that we're going to cover. further down the road, I'll probably cover the Yeti around Christmas time. I already said that because it's, Abominable Snowman will be fun. But yeah, that's the tale of Bigfoot.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a really long episode.
Yeah.
So we hope you guys stuck around for the entire thing, and we appreciate you if you did. Again, if you have stories, I know a lot of folks have stories, and I know I just said that I won't believe you, but if you have stories regarding crop circles or Bigfoot or ghosts, paranormal activities, anything like that, please email storytime@scarish.com. I will believe you. We'd be happy to share your story. I just don't trust you if you're going to ask me for money. You can also visit our Instagram. It's @ScarishPodcast, or our Twitter @ScarishPod, or our website, scarish.com, and click on Contact Us if you'd like to reach out to us. Robin, for those folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can support us by going to patreon.com/scaryishpodcast, and the tier start at $1. So you can start seeing some content that we've put up there and check it out, see what you like. I have the fall horror icon series going on. I have 5 different designs out right now, so you folks can check that out. That's what's going to be going out to Badge of Honor tier patrons and above. You can also go to ko-fi.com/scaryishpodcast, and those are one-time donations that help us upgrade our studio setup and our little computer here. And hopefully,
shout out to Asus Laptops, Republic of Gamer. Oh my god, I couldn't do this without you.
Hopefully we can keep this going. So please check out our social medias, Instagrams, all that fun stuff, and hopefully we'll see you guys out there.
Yeah, don't forget to enter into the giveaway by sharing the episode and tagging a friend. It definitely helps our audience grow, and it is really fun when folks come into this for the first time and they enjoy it. We got some new reviews on iTunes, and we hadn't been doing the iTunes shout-outs and telling people to go leave us reviews.
But you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for leaving such good reviews.
That came in said really, really nice things. It's always amazing to see, and that is directly related to the fact that we have an amazing audience that shares this with their friends and their family, or just acquaintances that they think might actually like it. Like I know I tell people at work about podcasts I listen to if we share the same interests, and like we definitely appreciate it when you folks do the same thing. So thank you to everyone who supports us in all the different ways that you do.
Yep.
We sincerely appreciate it.
We also have a Teespring store, if you folks did not know. If you go to our Facebook, there's links to it. We had a sale that was going on this past weekend, but there's still 5% off until mid-September, I'm pretty sure. So go check out our Facebook. There's a link to our store and a code for 5% off our entire store as well. So
right on.
Check it out.
Go check that out. And if you want to watch us record the Storytime episodes live, it's 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Wednesday at twitch.tv/scarishpodcast or youtube.com/scarish. So we hope to see you folks there. And I think that's just about everything we have for episode 90. So, yeah. Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.